Right, there's lots to talk about. Let's get straight to it. Let's talk more about the post office scandal. Then we will move on because, and I don't want the country, the organisations involved with this to move on because we need to make sure that people saying that justice is going to be delivered and compensation is going to be delivered and people are going to be exonerated for crimes they never committed that devastated their lives and their livelihoods, ended some lives as well. We know 4 suicides as a result of the Post Office Horizon scandal. We can't just say, oh, well, Rishi Sunak's made an announcement, now it's fine. We're looking at least a year before people do get their names cleared and a long process for people getting money. And it's still not going to make good everything. And we're still left with the systems. We're still left with Fujitsu running our criminal records, for goodness sake. I don't want this company anywhere near anything. I think they've proved themselves incompetent and dishonest. We've still got people at the post office who've not been brought to trial, and I think people should be brought to trial. Do you think this story is over, or is there a long way to go?
No, there's much more to come out. And I think there's going to be some really unedifying things come out of this, especially when you look at Fujitsu, as you just mentioned, and they were handed government contracts recently.
And Paula Venables was handled her CBE even after it was known there was this massive scandal.
There is a massive problem within the honours system as it is. Why, just because you've been head of an organisation, do you think you are entitled to...
Services to the post office. Well, were those services for which you were very well paid?
Well, what about services to education? What about the teachers? There are some stunningly good teachers out there who devote their lives to children. I would rather see people like that being awarded.
Well, as lots of people are saying, Alan Bates, who's key part of this campaign and, of course, featured so heavily in that TV drama. Those are the sort of people. I don't like the honours system anyway. I'm thinking, if they're going to be honest, then I'd like people like Alan Bates to get an honour. Again, not just a CBE or even a knighthood. I think I'd like to have him in the House of Lords, helping to make policy. I think and make laws. I think he'd be very useful. But I do just think that generally this whole sort of, if you give a big donation to a party, and it's all parties that do this, Lib Dems, Labour and Tories and everyone all do this, you get a big donation, you're an ally, or if I don't know, if you once worked briefly in Boris Johnson's or Liz Truss's office, you get a gong. If you're an MP who agrees to give up your seat so someone else can have it who's in the party, you get a gong. Yeah. If you're failed, lots of ways you get a gong. If you're senior civil servant, well paid, you get a gong. And then you give a few people who've been in the newspapers who are well known and a couple of celebrities, and then everyone goes, oh, isn't that lovely? And we talk about it on New Year's Day because there's nothing else to talk about.
That's true.
I think it's patronising, frankly.
It is. I always think it's the people that serve communities and do it for the good of their community. Quietly, don't make a massive fuss about it. And they're always the people that are never going to come forward. No one's going to put them forward for it because they feel that they'll be embarrassed. There's always that sense of, oh, no, I haven't done anything. It's not me, it's everybody else. And those are the people that we need. Yeah. Those ones need to be knighted. Working in number 10 for 5 minutes, well...
Yeah. But even you get sort of, I don't know, someone like James Dyson, Sir James Dyson, you think, well, being a billionaire is surely reward enough. I'd like to think...
I know,
if someone said I could have a damehood or be a billionaire, I know which one I'd choose.
But what about the people that run all the sort of cub and scout groups?
Yeah.
In their spare time, or football or netball, hockey, you name it. All of those things that go on in our communities that we desperately need more of, we might encourage people by saying, do you know what, if you actually do this, you could be recognised as
local community
hero and all the rest.
Yeah, exactly. A bit more of that, please. Well, we're talking of incentives for people. We know, again, one of the incentives, lots of for political donations, is these knighthoods and things, and we see it again and again. But incentives at the post office, and it's emerged. We've got the COVID inquiry. I mentioned that's ongoing, as useless as it always is. We've got the post office inquiry going on, but it's been revealed in the past, and it's come to light again now, that the fraud team, those men in black cars who swept up to the village post office in that ITV drama and basically closed down the post office and accused people of wrongdoing. They got bonuses every time they got a postmaster convicted and jailed. I mean, you're providing the most obscene motivations to people and incentives to people in that circumstance.
And you can understand it if they had all of the evidence and somebody was banged to rights, then you would understand that they would get some reward for their part in a prosecution. But the very fact is that they turned up with no evidence, took keys off people, said you're guilty. Well, why do they deserve financial bonuses for doing a job. This makes them on the level of the sort of bully boy bailiffs that you see on those awful programmes kicking people out because they haven't paid a parking fine.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that, to me, is all they come down to. It's the lowest of the low.
And again, that's the problem when you do get these private prosecutions, when there are different sort of incentives as opposed to what the Crown Prosecution Service incentives might be. I don't think you even get paid often, let alone having a bonus.